In a world that's constantly shifting, it's the voices of truth and bravery that shine the brightest. These 15 celebrities didn't just step into the spotlight, they rewrote the script. Boldly coming out as transgender, each one has carved a unique path, facing judgment, breaking barriers, and reshaping what the world thought it knew. Some names you'll instantly recognize. Others will catch you completely off guard. But every single story will challenge your perspective and stir something deep within. So if you think you've seen it all, think again. These are the powerful, real, and raw journeys behind the faces that dared to live authentically, no matter the cost. Trevy Moran, born on September 30th, 1998, is more than just a singer and digital creator. She's a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and transformation. Many longtime fans remember her as a fearless teenager lighting up the X Factor USA stage and going viral on YouTube with her bold energy and magnetic charm. But behind the spotlight and screens, Trevy was fighting a much deeper, private battle, one that had nothing to do with fame and everything to do with identity. In June 2020, during a time when the world itself seemed uncertain, Trevy made a powerful decision. She came out publicly as a transgender woman through a raw, emotional video. This wasn't a publicity stunt or a moment crafted for views. It was her truth, finally spoken aloud. With remarkable honesty, she opened up about years of inner conflict, the silent pain of living in a body and public role that didn't reflect who she truly was. For older generations unfamiliar with transgender journeys, Trevy's story is a deeply human window into what it means to fight for authenticity. She didn't just come out, she brought the world into her transition with grace, courage, and vulnerability. She shared her start with hormone replacement therapy and her commitment to living fully, openly, and unapologetically. No disguises. No filters. Just Trevy, real and radiant. What makes Trevy's journey so powerful isn't just her openness. It's her refusal to hide, to shrink, or to conform. In a world where identity is often questioned or politicized, she chose to be loud in her truth, and in doing so, she gave others permission to do the same. Her transformation goes far beyond the physical. It's a testament to self-love, self-discovery, and the power of living without fear. Whether you've followed her since the YouTube days or are just now discovering her story, Trevy Moran is a shining example of what it means to reclaim your narrative and help others find their voice along the way. Gina Rosero's journey is more than a personal transformation. It's a bold testament to truth, courage, and the enduring fight for dignity. Born in the Philippines and later becoming a proud U.S. citizen, Gina carved out a dazzling career as a fashion model, gracing magazine covers and lighting up runways with elegance and grace. But behind the spotlight, she carried a truth the world hadn't yet seen. That all changed in 2014, when Gina stepped onto the TED stage. With poise and quiet strength, she came out to a global audience as a transgender woman, on one of the most powerful platforms for ideas in the world. Her revelation wasn't just personal, it was revolutionary. For many, especially baby boomers who grew up in an era where gender identity was rarely discussed, Gina's story offered a deeply human and respectful window into a reality that had long remained hidden. But Gina didn't stop there. She used that moment to shine a light on the global challenges faced by transgender communities, especially in countries where being true to oneself can come at a deadly cost. She went on to found Gender Proud, an organization devoted to advocating for the rights and safety of transgender people worldwide. What makes Gina truly extraordinary isn't just her activism, it's how she tells her story. She doesn't speak with anger or division. Instead, she speaks of unity, empathy, and shared humanity. Her words remind us that the fight for equality, whether for civil rights, women's liberation, or LGBTQ+ dignity, has always been led by those brave enough to speak their truth. Through her appearances on television, her powerful speeches, and her tireless community work, Gina Rosero continues to be a beacon of hope for those who believe in resilience, compassion, and the healing power of authenticity. Her story proves that it's never too late to open your heart, challenge old beliefs, and listen, truly listen, to the voices calling for change. In Gina, we don't just see a model. We don't just see an activist. We see a reflection of what it means to be fully human, to be seen, to be respected, and above all, to be free. Andrea Pedik is not just a beautiful face in fashion, she's a revolution wrapped in elegance. Born in Bosnia and raised in Australia after her family fled war-torn Europe, Andrea's journey defies every convention the fashion industry once held sacred. In the early 2010s, she turned heads and made headlines as a rare model who could walk both men's and women's runways with stunning ease. But in 2013, she made a decision that shook more than just the fashion world. She came out publicly as a transgender woman. To many older Americans, raised in a time when gender identity was barely whispered about, Andrea's truth may have seemed radical, even confusing. But for Andrea, it wasn't about publicity or provocation. It was about reclaiming her story in an industry built on rigid norms and curated illusions. What made her iconic wasn't just her androgynous beauty or versatility, it was her audacity to exist authentically in a world obsessed with labels. She challenged the catwalk not with controversy, but with courage. When there were no lanes, she carved her own. And in doing so, she gave countless others the permission to do the same. In interviews, Andrea made it clear, her identity wasn't a phase or a fashion statement, it was her truth. And with every photo shoot, every runway, every interview, she wasn't just modeling clothing, she was modeling vulnerability, strength, and authenticity. In an industry that so often values image over substance, Andrea reminded us that real beauty isn't about a perfect dress or a designer suit, it's about grace under fire and the strength to be unapologetically yourself. Her story echoes a universal human longing, to be seen, to be accepted, to be free. For those who've watched history unfold, from civil rights to women's liberation, Andrea's journey is part of the next chapter. She didn't just walk into fashion, she changed its very fabric. And in doing so, she offered the world a broader, braver, and more honest definition of beauty, one that begins and ends with truth. Dominique Jackson's rise isn't just a Hollywood dream come true, it's a fierce declaration of resilience, identity, and the unstoppable force of the human spirit. Born on the small Caribbean island of Tobago, Dominique came to the United States chasing one thing, the freedom to live as her truest self. But that journey was anything but easy. She endured homelessness, battled rejection, and faced the kind of isolation that could break even the strongest souls. All while navigating her gender transition in a world that wasn't ready to embrace her. For older generations who remember when being different meant being cast aside, her story hits home in a powerful way. Dominique didn't just survive, she shattered barriers. Her breakout role as Electra Abundance on FX's Pose wasn't just a performance, it was a cultural reckoning. Fierce, glamorous, and unapologetically bold, Electra wasn't just a character, she was a mirror, reflecting the strength and complexity of a community long pushed into the shadows. Through Pose, Dominique helped bring ballroom culture and trans history into the living rooms of America, forcing the mainstream to finally pay attention. But Dominique's magic isn't limited to the screen. Off-camera, she's a fearless advocate and a global voice for transgender rights. She fights for access to healthcare, safe housing, and dignity for those too often left behind. She doesn't use her platform to bask in applause, she uses it to demand justice. And when she speaks, it's with the clarity of someone who's lived through storms and still chooses to stand tall. For those who lived through the civil rights movement, Dominique's activism feels like a familiar call, a reminder that progress has never come from silence. It takes boldness, it takes love, it takes grit, and Dominique Jackson embodies all of that. Her story isn't just inspiring, it's a living reminder that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear win. Whether she's owning the runway or speaking from a podium, she leads with elegance, fire, and purpose. And in doing so, she's not just changing the narrative, she's redefining what it means to be strong, to be seen, and to finally be free. Isis King. In 2008, something quietly revolutionary happened on national television, something far deeper than high fashion and catwalk drama. America's Next Top Model introduced Isis King, the first openly transgender woman to compete on the show, and in doing so, cracked open a conversation America had long kept behind closed doors. At a time when transgender representation was virtually non-existent on primetime TV, Isis wasn't just another contestant. She was history in motion. For baby boomers who had seen television evolve from black and white sitcoms to reality show spectacles, Isis's appearance was more than surprising, it was groundbreaking. She wasn't cast to stir controversy. She was chosen because she had the drive, the presence, and the dream. Yet by simply standing there unapologetically herself, she shattered stereotypes and forced a nation to take notice. Week after week, viewers didn't just see a model chasing a title. They witnessed a woman navigating a world that wasn't always ready for her. And through it all, Isis held her head high, not for attention, but for truth. Her grace, her strength, and her refusal to compromise inspired millions, especially those who had never before seen someone like themselves on screen. Beyond the runway, Isis used her growing platform to shine a light on the forgotten, trans youth facing homelessness, the fight for affirming health care, and the basic human right to be treated with dignity. The fashion world may have been her entry point, but her impact reached far beyond glossy photos and designer clothes. What truly set Isis apart wasn't just her beauty or talent, it was her authenticity. She never masked who she was, even when the spotlight grew harsh. That honesty struck a deep chord, particularly with older generations who recognized not just her courage, but her conviction. In the years since, Isis King has become more than a former reality star. She's a symbol of what's possible when bravery meets opportunity. She didn't enter the spotlight to chase fame, she entered to open doors. And in doing so, she changed not just the industry, but the culture. Because sometimes, real change doesn't roar. It walks into the room, looks you in the eye, and simply refuses to be erased. Tommy Dorfman, born on May 13, 1992, first captured national attention as Ryan Shaver on Netflix's 13 Reasons Why, a show that sparked global conversations about mental health and identity. But Tommy's most profound impact didn't come from a character she played. It came from her own truth. In July 2021, Tommy made headlines, not for a role, but for a revelation. In a deeply moving interview with Time magazine, she came out publicly as a transgender woman. It wasn't just a personal turning point, it was a cultural moment. Her story resonated far beyond Hollywood, touching hearts across generations. For baby boomers who once grew up in silence, and for Gen Z navigating identity in a hyper-connected world, Tommy's voice became a beacon of honesty and hope. She made it clear, this wasn't a transformation, it was a return. A long-awaited alignment between her inner truth and outward self. "I'm not becoming someone new," she said. "I'm becoming who I've always been." By embracing she/her pronouns and living authentically, Tommy reminded us that self-acceptance isn't about changing, it's about revealing. It's about finally showing the world who you've been all along. Her vulnerability, her strength, and her grace in the spotlight struck a powerful chord. Younger generations saw someone who looked at fear and chose freedom. Older audiences saw the echoes of movements past, civil rights, women's liberation, and the slow but steady march toward LGBTQ+ visibility. Tommy's journey added another chapter to that ongoing story. What makes her so compelling isn't perfection, it's her honesty. She doesn't pretend to have all the answers. But she speaks with clarity, compassion, and a quiet defiance that dares others to do the same. In a world still learning how to make space for authenticity, Tommy Dorfman showed us what it looks like to live unapologetically. Her story is a reminder that the bravest thing any of us can do is to be exactly who we are, loudly, proudly, and without shame. Alexis Arquette wasn't just born into a Hollywood dynasty on July 28, 1969. She forged her own path, one paved with courage, defiance, and truth. While her siblings, Patricia, David, and Rosanna, made their marks in film and television, Alexis became something far more rare. A pioneer who shattered silence at a time when it was easier, even safer, to stay quiet. In the early 2000s, when few dared to speak publicly about being transgender, Alexis stepped forward, not with a press release or a PR spin, but with raw honesty. In 2007, she underwent gender confirmation surgery, not as a headline but as an affirmation of her identity in a world still struggling to understand. Her bravery was not theatrical, it was lived. To many Gen Zers and Boomers, she's fondly remembered for her unforgettable role in The Wedding Singer, channeling Boy George with flair, and for her bold performance in But I'm a Cheerleader, a cult classic that mocked stereotypes while spotlighting deeper truths. But Alexis's greatest performance was never scripted. It was her real-life role as a relentless advocate for LGBTQ+ visibility in an industry that often erased people like her. While others played it safe, Alexis took aim at Hollywood's narrow casting calls and demanded more. She wasn't chasing applause, she was challenging the system. Her activism wasn't for show, it was born from struggle. She stood for dignity, representation, and a future where trans artists could walk into a casting room without fear or shame. For those who grew up watching civil rights icons on the front lines, Alexis's life rings with that same spirit. Standing tall when sitting back would have been easier. She reminded us that freedom isn't just about living your truth, it's about making space for others to do the same. When Alexis Arquette passed away in 2016 at the age of just 47, the world didn't just lose an actress. We lost a voice that helped crack the wall of silence. Her legacy isn't just in movie credits. It lives in every door she helped open, every conversation she helped start, and every trans artist now walking through Hollywood with their head held high because someone like Alexis dared to lead. On a scale of 0 to 5, how powerful do you think Alexis Arquette's role was in breaking barriers for transgender representation in Hollywood? Drop your number in the comments, and tell us why her story still resonates with you today. In 2013, Gigi Gorgeous didn't just upload videos, she rewrote the rules of digital storytelling. At a time when YouTube was flooded with fleeting trends and viral distractions, Gigi offered something far more powerful: truth. With raw, intimate videos, she invited the world into one of the most personal journeys a person can take: her gender transition. But this wasn't just about physical transformation. It was a story of self-discovery, emotional courage, and unwavering authenticity. Born Gregory Alan Lazzarato on April 20, 1992, in Canada, Gigi first won hearts with her cheerful makeup tutorials and vibrant energy. But as her inner truth began to surface, her content evolved. What began as beauty tips soon became a deeply human chronicle of becoming, one that reached far beyond eyeliner and lipstick. She didn't simply change her look, she peeled back layers of fear and stepped into the light of her true self. For many older Americans unfamiliar with the complexities of gender identity, Gigi's openness became a bridge. Her story wasn't a headline, it was a lived experience. One that showed what it means to face judgment, fear, and loss, and still choose love, truth, and resilience. Through every frame, she gave parents and grandparents a rare chance to understand, to see their children and grandchildren not as strangers, but as brave souls finding their way home. Gigi didn't just become a YouTube star. She became a beacon. An advocate, a symbol of strength for anyone struggling to live their truth. Her influence reached far beyond the LGBTQ+ community, sparking real conversations in living rooms across America. For baby boomers who've witnessed revolutions in civil rights and women's liberation, Gigi's journey is yet another reminder that the most powerful movements often start with one courageous voice. Today, Gigi Gorgeous stands as a quiet revolution, graceful, relentless, and real. She reminds us that the bravest thing we can do isn't changing who we are, it's revealing who we've always been. And in doing so, she challenges us all to live with more honesty, empathy, and grace. Janet Mock, born March 10, 1983, isn't just a renowned writer and producer, she's a force of truth, courage, and transformation. When she released her groundbreaking memoir Redefining Realness in 2014, she did more than tell her story, she cracked open a world rarely seen, the raw, unfiltered reality of a young transgender woman forging her identity against a backdrop of hardship, rejection, and grit. But Janet's journey wasn't just about gender, it was about survival, about claiming space in a world that too often erases those who don't fit its mold. Raised in the vibrant yet unforgiving corners of Hawaii, Janet knew struggle early. As a trans woman of color, she battled poverty, instability, and the deafening silence of societal neglect. But she never let her story be written by circumstance. Instead, she grabbed the pen and told it herself, with honesty, with power, and with grace. Redefining Realness wasn't just a memoir. It was a mirror for anyone who's ever felt invisible, a roadmap for those searching for dignity in a world that doesn't always offer it freely. And she didn't stop there. Janet shattered ceilings in Hollywood by becoming a writer, director, and executive producer on FX's Pose, a show that gave life to the untold stories of Black and Latinx LGBTQ+ communities during the height of the AIDS crisis. In doing so, she made history as the first openly transgender woman of color hired as a staff writer on a major TV show. But more importantly, she gave voice to the forgotten, brought light to the overlooked, and reminded millions that representation isn't just a buzzword, it's a lifeline. To many baby boomers who grew up in an era where gender identity was rarely discussed and often misunderstood, Janet's story has been both an awakening and an act of healing. Her voice bridges generations, echoing the same spirit of resilience that fueled civil rights protests, women's liberation, and the ongoing fight for equality. Her work challenges us to see beyond stereotypes and listen, really listen, to the stories that live in the margins. Janet Mock doesn't just demand visibility, she delivers truth. Her legacy reminds us that no matter how many times you've been told you don't belong, no matter how many doors have closed in your face, you still hold the pen. And your story? It's yours to tell on your terms. Indya Moore, born in 1995 in the heart of the Bronx, New York, isn't just an actor or a model, they're a force of truth and transformation in modern television. Best known for their breathtaking role as Angel Evangelista in the groundbreaking series Pose, Indya delivered more than a performance. They brought soul, vulnerability, and quiet power to a character that introduced millions, especially older Americans, to the real, lived experiences of transgender and non-binary people of color. Pose, set amid the vibrant ballroom scene of 1980s and 90s New York, wasn't just a show, it was a cultural awakening. And Indya's portrayal of Angel wasn't just acting. It was a form of activism. With every glance, every line, they gave voice to people long ignored by the mainstream. Indya entered the entertainment world at just 15, but it didn't take long to see that their true gift went far beyond talent. What truly sets them apart is their unwavering commitment to living authentically, without apology or compromise. As a trans and non-binary trailblazer, Indya has used their rising platform not only to dazzle on screen but to advocate fiercely for justice, visibility, and safety. From broken healthcare systems to biased media narratives, they've never shied away from speaking hard truths. For baby boomers who lived through the civil rights era and the women's liberation movement, Indya's voice echoes that same spirit, a demand for dignity, equity, and the basic human right to be seen. Indya Moore's story isn't just powerful because of fame, it's powerful because of purpose. They teach us that courage doesn't always arrive with a shout. Sometimes, it speaks gently, insists quietly, and moves with unstoppable grace. With every role, every speech, every unapologetic moment, Indya calls on us to question, to listen, and above all, to care. Their journey is more than a personal triumph. It's a reminder that the world is better, richer, and more human when everyone's truth has a place at the table. Michaela J. Rodriguez, also known to many as Michaela M.J. Rodriguez, was born on January 7, 1991, in Newark, New Jersey. Today, she stands as one of the most groundbreaking and inspiring forces in modern television. A gifted actress and soulful singer, MJ didn't just make her way through Hollywood, she helped redefine it. Her love for the stage began early, but it wasn't until she publicly came out as a transgender woman that her artistry truly soared. That bold step wasn't just personal, it was revolutionary. The role that cemented her legacy came with FX's acclaimed series Pose, set in the vibrant and often overlooked 1980s New York ballroom scene. As Blanca Rodriguez Evangelista, MJ played more than a character, she embodied a movement. A fierce yet nurturing housemother, Blanca led with grace, grit, and endless compassion. For many viewers, especially those unfamiliar with LGBTQ+ history, Pose was a revelation. And MJ's performance? It cracked open hearts. It gave visibility, dignity, and depth to a community long ignored by mainstream media. Then history was made. In 2021, MJ became the first openly transgender woman ever nominated for a lead acting Emmy. And just 1 year later, she shattered yet another barrier, becoming the first transgender actress to win a Golden Globe. These weren't just trophies, they were turning points. Cultural milestones that challenged everything we thought we knew about who gets to be seen, celebrated, and remembered in Hollywood. For those who lived through the civil rights movement, the fight for gender equality, and the slow march toward inclusion, MJ's story feels both familiar and electric. A testament to the power of truth and the courage it takes to live it. But MJ's impact doesn't end when the cameras stop rolling. Off-screen, she's a fierce advocate for trans rights and representation, calling for something simple, yet profound: respect, safety, and opportunity for all. Her message isn't about division. It's about unity. About reminding us that behind every award, every headline, is a human being asking only to live authentically. MJ Rodriguez dares us to ask, what does it truly mean to lead with love? Her answer? Live boldly, fight gently, and use your light, not just to shine, but to guide others through the darkness. Thank you for watching Exposed Hollywood. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a story that matters. Until next time.